Presentation titled Unlocking Digital Transformation. My name is T. I'm the Head of Operational Excellence at Siemens Digital Industries. And I'm responsible for offer to order, order to cash. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what other people think I do all day.
The recipe for success for process mining in a complex organization like Siemens is to find the right people. And that's the prime example is really T, with his team, how they went around the world to really convince people saying, hey, this is the power of data, this is how you can improve your work with the digital fit rate and with transparency in order to cash.
I think it's a fact that in our project, where we have now visited every country improved.
Well, while I believe this is true, it's obviously not so true. So let's give you a little bit of a context of what I do. Yeah, so I'm from Siemens, 172-year-old company. I've been for Siemens 10% of that lifetime. If you can't do the math, it's 17 years. 14 moves for the company in 7 different manufacturing locations, 5 countries, but quite proud to say, still my first employer today. And today, or these days, I'm responsible also for driving a program which we call Order Management for Tomorrow, because we know tomorrow is going to be different. But it doesn't matter how the future is, it's much more important to understand what are we doing today, regardless of how the future will turn out. So yes, obviously we talk about automation and reduction of rework and all of these things, but let me really get into it by part, piece by piece. And I wanted to start with a little bit with a story. And there's a story of a Gurkha who is a soldier, and he wanted to get back from Myanmar back to Nepal in India. And it took him 3 months to get back. And then the Indian general said, oh, how did you actually escape the prison? How did you get back? He said, I had a map. And on every map, I actually showed what it was. And then the general looked at the map and said, that's useless, because that's the city map of London. So he got home because he had a compass. Now, I'm not talking about the compass in terms of having the right direction, but I'm also talking about the compass of values. Okay? So you can see it's already a little bit different here, the kind of presentation where all the process flows you might be thinking, but I actually, before I go into it, I have to hijack you for 2 parts. And I will promise you all of these things will come together. So number 1, I first need to get you into the right mindset. Okay? And our story begins, as many stories do. This is the opening of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, and it goes, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. And it can't be even more relevant reading these 2 lines today. And so there is a story which goes around that there's somebody from a very big company, multinational company, coming with some expertise, and he is going to show you about the logic, what they have done, and then they give to you the proof. And while this is true, this is the story of teaching by example, but it's also truly boring. Because in 1 hour you have forgotten at least 50%, and by tomorrow, nothing. There will be nothing. Maybe tea with a cool shirt, that's fine, but you will have remembered nothing. And therefore I need to tell you another story. The right mindset is like this. Let's exchange the expertise by empathy, the logic by suspense, and instead of a proof, I give you a surprise. And then the story goes like that. When I started this project, I basically pissed my pants. Can it be done? Driving global change, process efficiency for a company of that age and magnitude around the globe. How long would it take? But I found friends and followers who were crazy like me. And we said, no, let's do it. And we discovered something so simple, and we changed the way we work in Siemens. I can truly say that. And that is not the story of answers. It is the story of questions. This is learning by inquiry. And then I can take you onto this journey, because you can do it too. Everyone in this room. So, that was the first hijack. Let's come to the second part. For most of us, the longest journey in the world will be coming from the head to the heart. So now that I got the right mindset, let me get to the right heart side. And in order to do so, let me introduce you and reveal what this t-shirt is about. Let me introduce you to David Katz, who is the founder of a plastic bank. And they basically say, let's not clean up the ocean, let's make sure that plastic does not land into the ocean. Because if in the kitchen your sink flows through with water, you're not gonna mop it, you're gonna turn off the tap. And they understand that by paying a premium to collectors and then introduce the plastic into the system. They have partnerships with Aldi, with Henkel. And what I wanted to show here is not to just only promote the cause, but also teach you what we as multinational companies are learning from these social causes.
What was it that I heard? Where did I hear it from? Who whispered it? And it wasn't the idea. It was the knowing that I only needed to become. And that life was not about being, but becoming. And that the journey truly is the destination.
When I had the idea, May the 11th, 2013, now of course I remember the day, because it was just so big. Not only did I have the idea, this knowing that if we turned plastic into money, that could be a part of change. Because the poor will never throw away money. What if we could turn it into cash?
You know, we can see it in drug addicts who think of the next hour or next few hours, or the abject poor who have no food. And we can see it in workers who are beginning or emerging. They look at their paycheck 2 weeks. We look perhaps at other management that looks at the end of the year, or we look at the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gateses who look at decades in the future. And there is an association between wealth and time perspective. And those who can see into the future are much more likely to achieve wealth and abundance. And he was able to go from seeing today to seeing 15 years. And so I knew that in him we ended poverty. We absolutely ended poverty in a family.
And when you look at these 2 minutes of this clip, you really understand that it is about becoming. It is that not everyone can be like David Katz, but somebody like David Katz can actually come from anywhere in the world. He didn't grow up to solve the plastic problem. And he mentioned that value is around the time perspective. So the further you can look into the future, the more wealthy you are. And now let's come to process mining. In our case, we use the Celonis. And I'm going to waste 80 seconds of you, maybe, because everyone here knows what is process mining. But let me give you my way of how I explain process mining also to the boardrooms. So we are in the restaurants, we are chopping vegetables, we are grilling meat. Each and every hexagon is an activity, the numbers are the numbers, how often it happens. And we also know, there's probably more activities in the restaurant going on. So let's deep dive a little bit. And then you see, yes, you're also stir frying vegetables, seasoning the meat, additional hexagons, additional activities. And then we can also see what are actually the relationships between these activities. And then I show some more activities, and then you start, hey, what's actually going on? Because I can see that chopping vegetables, then grilling meat is actually faster than the other way around. And you can already start to think a little bit about that. And then, of course, you can show all the activities and all the restaurants which are happening and all of the other connections between the activities. And then you have exactly spaghetti, because we're in a restaurant. And we can zoom in every activity, because each and every activity has another 100 different data fields where we know what is really the type of a tomato, where was it grown, lots of metadata. And then process mining is activity, the what, the when, and the what when, because many things can happen at the same time. Process mining in under 80 seconds. So that's process mining for me. But if you come into an organization like this, and that is a real picture, that's Siemens, you are in the complex hell of a multinational company. And I'm in double hell because I also have to deal with people. I'm just joke aside. It gets complicated. And when you understand it's complex and complicated, you see that this bliss of dealing with 183 billion euros up in the right-hand corner, the 425 million activities at a glance, with one click, that is the true power of process mining. And that's a transparency beyond imagination. And it works everywhere. Manufacturing, finance, pharma, industries, process, it doesn't matter, HR, it works everywhere, in good and in bad times. One thing it can't do is to answer the question, who cares? Because I showed that to the CFO, they loved it, and what now? Oh yeah. Well, let's look at the tweet, happened a while ago. And we don't do automation for the sake of automation. And even automation in the sense of Tesla, that's when they had the production problems, was a bad thing. And Elon already gave a little bit of the answer there. Humans are underrated. So actually, you got it totally wrong. It's exactly the other way around. Its imagination goes beyond transparency. Hey. And if you have this kind of mindset, then you understand, quoting Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude towards the problem. Because if somebody like Siemens tries to harmonize, standardize 2270 SAP systems in 90 countries, you will fail, or you will spend utterly lots of money and time. So, here is the key to unlocking digital transformation. It's the human touch. Not the manual intervention, which I try to avoid. No, but is the focus on the competencies, what humans have been doing better, are doing better, and will always do better than machines, which are the competencies like creativity, imagination, empathy, compassion, and what have you not. And if you have a true focus on these things, and just don't put it on the motivational posters, I mean truly mean it, then you will understand, well, you still need technology. But technology has the transformational power to fulfill your change in the necessary time with less resources. And let's now get into started. How did Siemens, after having this epiphany, started the project of globally changing our order-to-cash process? First of all, we said, no clue how long it's going to take, let's do the journey in sprints. And we said we want to really meet every one of our countries, and we are going to do the travel. And I had a big team, and I basically got rid of it. I hijacked 2 young ladies from the regional company who have done nothing else but order to cash, talking to real customers. And I said, go with me on this crazy journey. And we visited 30 countries in 1 year. We taught nothing. We learned together. There was no answer provided. The answer were in the right questions. And we did it together. Co-creation in reality, not just a buzzword. And by that, with each and every country visit, we have become much more performant. We engaged into a movement. We started the discussion with the new language. The language we discovered was process mining. And then we came to a stop and said, how do we measure all of this? Because CFO still needs money, or how do we measure all of this greatness, right? And therefore, we created a new KPI. So let me talk a little bit about KPIs. Every square is a rectangle, not every rectangle is a square. Do you have KPIs? Yes, you have KPIs. No, you don't. You have metrics. There are a lot of metrics around. There are not many KPIs around. So we had to create a new one, and we call it the digital fit rate. And it must have been a really great thing, because FIT stands for Franziska Ines MT. So we said, digital fit rate, must be great. And it is really counting the number of manual interventions into our process. And everyone can adopt it and understand it, because it's so easy communicable to a bot and to a person on the front line. That is a true KPI, the transformative power made visible by the help of process mining. And when you have that, and you do this really on a global scale, sorry if I mess up anyone of you taking the pictures with the QR code, that was an intention. You understand that the centralized approach, it's great, it's effective until, you know what will happen. Quality goes down, it becomes way too slow. So we start with super nodes and have a decentralized approach. Well, very efficient, but until quality goes down. So yes, we must have a distributed approach. Forget about center of excellences. You need to have a mesh of excellence because excellence is in your DNA. And then you understand that we basically used our other platforms we have in Siemens to spread the message. We were only 3 people, don't forget about that. 3 people to drive global change. And then suddenly when we uploaded all our things onto the Siemens YouTube channel and the Facebook groups and had a FAQ, a Wikipedia, then suddenly participants became contributors. And there are people helping other people and it's not on their job profile. It's not on their job description. And I don't know these 2,000 people on my Facebook group, but there are people asking questions and other people answering them. I am not a center of excellence. And then you have improvements on a global level. 24% reduction, increasing automation, reduction of rework by 11%, and really over 10 million less manual steps. And you can imagine how much money that is, right? And then yes, we even get featured in Gartner, and then we talk really about the information of the DTO, but actually let's hear it from the people who can explain it much better than I do. Huh?
Intelligence. But does this sound too complicated? Too futuristic? You might think that a DTO is far too complex to build, and it really will be if you try to do it all at once. What we do know is that companies who are using DTO successfully start small and work incrementally. Siemens is an example of a company that has successfully used DTOs. They shaped a problem by starting small. They created a digital twin of an order-to-cash operation, and they started in one city in Germany by using process mining. And then they shifted their thinking by building process logs from event maps. The process maps then let them monitor ongoing operations and optimize the way the processes worked. Siemens then shared the success of this pilot by applying digital twins to order-to-cash operations in 90 other locations around the world. And they even created a new key performance indicator to track the number of unnecessary human touches in a process. I mean, this is tremendous insight. This is the beauty of using organizational digital twins.
This usually I show at the management, you know, if you have to just bring one picture back, I will stop them where you can take your pictures. What is it about? It's about really having an expert team to focus on a dedicated project and to have a transparency platform, you know, in that case, process mining. And on top of process mining, we also establish a new way of communicating the so-called digital twin, the digital fit rate. And basically that's it. But then I would owe you still something. You know, what about this all long talk about mindset and hard set, right? So, since we're here in academia, let's get to the real meat. So that's the boardroom stuff. What is it really about? What is it really about? Well, if you look into the future, and you can smile, and your future is 10 years, 15 years, what would you feel if you can give that to your customers? That they don't need to worry and say, hey, I need this tomorrow. That they actually come to you, hey, nothing urgent, but can we talk about that? That's a different kind of value proposition. And this is what we have been achieving. And the thing is, to make it very clear, if you miss a comma in a book, it's still a great book. But if you miss a comma in the rocket start sequence, people will die. And if you go to Google Translate, 80% is okay, you get what it is about, and it makes a pretty good translation of the rooster, and for all the German speakers here, you will get the third one, which is actually quite funny, I think, yeah? So you have the rooster, you have the water tap, and the male genitalia. Good that I do the microphone down, right? But I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I would never let her ride in a 99% safe self-driving cars. These are two different things. The comma in a book, the comma in a rocket start sequence, 80% 99.999999, not even enough. And who is going to make that difference? Well, revisiting how I started. A tale of two cities is a tale of two mindsets. And you have a PowerPoint layer, and we talk about electronic ordering and automated billing and portals and e-commerce and all what have you not. But the reality is there are people in your organization who are dealing with these topics. And if you have a person talking about automated billing, and you have nobody in your organization who understands what RV60 SBAT is and SAP ABAP, then your digital transformation will fail, period. That's it. So, not everyone can be a hero, but your heroes can come from anywhere. Like in my case, kidnapping them from the actual organization. I needed to find my heroes. Don't be sad. If you can't be a hero, you can still be a true leader. Everyone can be a true leader by having the courage to be the first follower. They are the true leaders because they followed me. I am a true leader because I gave them the courage to be followed. So, in closing, all of what we have achieved, millions of euros savings, highlighting on great events, being able to speak here, it's not about me, even that we take nice pictures. It's moreover about two young ladies who went onto this journey with me, and then we started a movement at Siemens, and the story continues. So, thank you very much for your time, and let's give it up to the real heroes.